Hello my dear YouTuber friends, and I do hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to this new video, Back to Basics Part 26, Vertical Navigation or VNAV tutorial. In this video I'm going to show you how you can set up an approach to follow a VNAV profile. And in this video, I'm going to show you a route where it will bring you down pretty much to your approach phase, where you can arm approach and land at your chosen airport. Okay, so as it's following our VPAV, our vertical navigation, let's not hesitate. Let's get on with this video. Okay, so for this flight, we're going to set a very simple flight route from EGBB Birmingham, runway 15 there. Zoom in, show you that. So runway 15, Birmingham, EGBB, over to Heathrow, EGLL. You can just say set destination on Heathrow itself. And we've added Blenheim Palace here, just as a waypoint. Very simple flight. I've got the Cessna 172 selected there with the Hudson livery and with the G1000s, of course. Let's go fly. Okay, so we're set up at Birmingham International runway 15 in the Cessna 172 with the Hudson livery, as you can see there. Jump into the cockpit. Now with VNAVs, we've got the course set up like I showed you on the world map. So Birmingham with Blenheim Palace as an added waypoint over to EGLL, Heathrow Airport. When you're using VNAV, you want to set up an arrival vector so that you can follow the VNAV on that arrival vector. If you've not done this before, don't worry. On your right G1000, just go to the PROC button, Procedures. And you've got Select Approach there. Let's zoom in a bit for you. Select Approach. You can just press your Enter key down here. And it lets you select an approach. Now we're going to land, let's say, runway 9 left. And you can see there, we're going to use RNAV. RNAV is essentially area navigation. Don't worry about that. It just lets you pick up on more than just VOR or ILSs. And it's got, I believe, a wider range as well. So we'll be using RNAV for runway 9 left. But as you can see there, it gives us the options of using either lateral navigation or vertical navigation. So this one is perfect. I would advise you to follow this tutorial and this route if you don't know about VNAV, vertical navigation. This will give you some idea. So there you go. And then it will add in some additional waypoints to vector us onto runway 9 left. So I've just used the... Now, let me just guess. The outer knob. I always call that the inner knob because it's the inner knob to unit. The outer knob, the big knob here, just to scroll down to this one here, 9 left. I'm going to press Enter, the Enter button. And it will ask, you can either have vectors or you can use this waypoint. You can see this waypoint's actually on the way to runway 90 left, so that's perfect. If it gives you that option, always choose the actual navigation point that's on course with your route already. So I use that outer knob again, the big knob on the FMS, to select that and press Enter. Minimums, we don't need to worry about that. Just use your outer knob again. I'm going to get that confused, chaps. You're going to have to bear with me during this video. And scroll down to load and just press Enter. Now that's our flight plan set. Now you'll notice here that these two are in teal colouring here. This one's in white. Let me just show you something. I'm just going to come back out of that. Oops. Back to my original cockpit view. Get to my left G1000. For this flight, I'm just going to press the B key to make sure my altimeter is behaving. It is. That's the correct altitude above sea level. I'm going to set an altitude for 5,000 feet. Wouldn't be unusual in a Cessna 172. You can see an additional number here. Numbers here. I'm going to talk about them in a moment. But that's what I want my autopilot to climb to. Look at the other Back to Basics series videos if you're unsure about this. I'm going to link the whole playlist down below in the description. set 5,000 feet. That's what I want my autopilot to climb up to. I've got it in GPS mode, so it'll follow our navigation course. Now, as you can see, it's put this at 5,000 feet as well. So basically, it's our first waypoint, Blenheim Palace. Now we can make this teal, and then we will get some information down here. Let me just show you this. So you want to right-click the inner knob, the small knob here. Right-click that with your mouse. It'll bring up the cursor. You can use your outer knob. I've said that right, but outer knob to get to this 5,000 feet here. Use your inner knob again. Just turn it left or right. Just gonna mouse up, and just follow this. Use your outer knob again, the big knob again, just to scroll along to this second number, the 5. And use your inner knob, the small knob, to change that. I can change that to 4,000. Press enter. Enter again. Just click flight plan, so that's altered that. Click your flight plan again. You can see now these are all in teal. Once we start to take off, you'll see some top of descent. In this case, we'll be using top of descent to climb down to our first waypoint, which is Blenheim Palace. So we watch that if that's confusing. There's going to be something filled up. Once we're up in the air, you're going to see a timer counting down to the top of descent. Our first top of descent will be this waypoint here, because we need to get down to 4,000 feet. Okay, I'm going to leave that there for now, and we're going to release the parking brake, throttle up. Now, I do have it all set up. My Toby eye tracker, because I do like to do this when I'm taking off. I'll link my Toby eye tracker video down below. For those of you who are asking, I use it quite often. I just have it stuck permanently in front of my monitor. Have it turned on. I've got a key button on my XPC yoke to turn it on and off. So when I want to use head tracking and eye tracking, I can. Within the press of a button. That's enough. We could take off there. Enough speed to take off. Just make sure I've got positive rate of climb here. And we can go autopilot, and nav mode should follow the nav. Yep, GPS is locked on. So there we go, I'll just turn the head tracking on, so you can turn it on and off. Just going to look at my vertical speed to make sure that I'm not climbing at too high a rate. 1,000 feet per minute will be fine. And it will allow my speed to increase as well. Give this a moment, you'll start to see additional information come up in the top of descent here. So we'll let that just happen whilst we're flying along, just to show you what happens. Like I said, if you don't know about vertical navigation, perhaps follow this specific tutorial, this specific route first, and then you can take what you've learnt here and adapt it to your own flight plan. So we'll let this carry on. Oh, let's turn on my Toby again. I do like... I've got hands off on that autopilot. I'm just looking around at the moment. Anybody behind me? I do have it on live service, so there's a few people flying around. You can see there. Stick my head out the window with Toby eye tracking as well. Up over the bonnet even might be a good idea. There we go. A few people in the distance there. We can take a look at the ground beneath us. Fantastic. Now, this is not about Toby eye tracking. Just waiting for that top of descent. When we get a little bit higher here, you'll see some information in that field there. So that top of descent field, you'll start to see that populate in a moment. What's my compass doing? It's absolutely fine. Yep, speed's going okay. Once we get over 3,000 feet, we'll start to lean the engine. Look at my mixture in my Back to Basics series, mixture tutorial, to show you how you can do that. That's a lovely view for a thumbnail, isn't it? Or maybe something similar when we get nearer to it. Now, top of descent is... So let's just turn off that Toby so I can give you a better and still look at that. You can see now it started to fill up the top of descent information here. We've got 42 minutes before. Now this will settle down. It's just climbing at the moment, so this is just getting to the actual timer this will settle down, but it gives you a rough idea of the time to where we'll get to our top of descent. Let's just hide the flight plan for a minute. We can zoom in with the map here. Yeah, so basically, yeah, I thought this may happen. When we get a bit nearer to our first waypoint, which is Blenheim Palace here, the top of descent will change, because there will be a top of descent. Remember, we're going to be climbing to 5,000 feet. Once we climb to 5,000 feet, you'll start to see a new top of descent here to climb down to 4,000 feet for our first waypoint. But the top of descent for the moment, because we're not climbed to that 5,000 feet yet, is going towards our approach leg. So there you can see top of descent. So basically what it's telling you is that's when you need to start descending, but with V navigation we can do that automatically. Let's click on our flight plan again. Has it altered that top of descent now, I wonder? Yep, there you go, that's perfect timing. So it's altered it. I did say it will alter. Let's just see what my aircraft's doing before I start chatting on a bit more there. We're climbing up to our 5,000 feet. I'm just going to lean my mixture rather, out a bit. So I'm just leaning my mixture just because we're climbing up to 5,000 feet now. In fact, let's just click on that lean button there. That's going to help. There we go, we're climbing up to our assigned autopilot altitude. Just going to keep an eye on this, just in case. Yep, that's fine, we're climbing up to 5,000 feet now. We're going to start to increase speed as well. Just keep an eye on my RPM, I don't want to over-rev the engines. That's absolutely fine. So like I said here, the top of descent, now it does this, because I altered this before, remember that was at 5,000 feet, I changed it to 4,000 feet. Our new top of descent is here now. Let's just get the cursor up again. So I'm just holding my left button, right clicking to get the cursor up, and then just moving it by left click and hold. We'll get to that top of descent and range in. So we need to start descending around here. When we get nearer to that, you'll start to see some target vertical speed and required vertical speed. That's quite interesting, and I'll show you that a bit later. But when we get to here, we'll need to arm V navigation, and then it will descend for us. There you see. I really need to watch my throttle here over revving the engine. That's okay, I just brought my throttle back slightly. That's fine now. We'll start descending here, and under VNAV it will bring us down to our 4,000 feet perfectly with the required and targeted vertical speed. I'll show you that a bit later, but V navigation is wonderful in that extent. Now you can see, let's talk about this number now. So 4,000 feet. The autopilot, if it's going to basically climb or descend and maintain the greater of these two numbers. At the moment, the greater is the 5,000 feet original autopilot assigned altitude that I set. So if I don't change this under VNAV, it's not going to start descending to that 4,000 feet to begin with. If we look at our flight plan again, our destination altitude to capture the approach, and we'll be landing with approach with VNAV as well, or with the help of VNAV, is 2,500. That's basically our final approach fix. So we can take our now we've climbed to 5,000 feet, we can change our autopilot assigned altitude to 2,500 feet, which again is this figure here. That'll be our final approach fix, and that will take us into an approach for the runway. So when I arm VNAV, it's not going to descend to 2,500 feet. It's going to descend onto the figure, the VNAV figure, vertical path navigation, as I'll show you later here, figure, whatever's showing here on the VNAV. If I press vertical speed and nose down at the moment, without pressing VNAV, it will climb down to that 2,500 feet. Under VNAV, it'll be taking this figure into consideration. 4,000 feet to begin with, that's our first waypoint. I hope you're following along. Next will be a Bavi here at 3,000 feet. You'll see that change to 3,000. And then eventually it will change to 2,500. And under VNAV, it will just follow it down. At the moment, we've got in about 12 minutes before we reach our first top of descent. When that's a bit nearer, I'll bring you back. Now then, I'm just under a few minutes out, as you can see, from the top of descent, and you're going to get some interesting information come up on both screens. Ignore the one to the side there. I've just been using sim rate time on flow just to get to this top of descent. I've changed nothing. I've just been following the GPS, the course in the autopilot. I've changed nothing since the last time we spoke. Just over 2 minutes now. The only thing I've watched is my RPM. I had my throttle up too much, and that's pretty good actually. We're making good speed. I've got my engine leaned out, and all's very nice there. So there you go, just over a minute. Whilst that's happening, something I have been doing in flight is just really in love with this Tobii eye tracker. There you go, folks. I've not just reviewed it and gave it a good review, I've actually used it, and I'm happy to use it. I was really looking forward to getting hold of it. Just to look around. Oh, that's a long way down. Oh, there's a runway beneath us. Hey, look. Hey. Can I get a better view of that? Can I lean out the other? No. There you go. Oh, there you go. There you go. Right, stop messing around, Hudson, and get back to business here. So, we're just coming up to a minute. Once that gets under a minute, you'll start to see some target VS, vertical speed, and some required vertical speed. Once this happened, I've got my top menu activated. That's good, because I want to pause the sim. Active pause. There we go. Coming up to a minute. So we're right on top, pretty much, of that top of descent. And there we go, that's the information I want. So active pause while I explain what's going on. So it's give us some target vertical speed. The target, VS target vertical speed here is what it's saying to get down. When you reach your top of descent, your target vertical speed nose down should be 600 feet per minute, which is denoted by this arrow you'll see here on the left G1000 next to your altitude ribbon. You've got an arrow here that'll be about 600 feet per minute. So what the autopilot will do once we've activated vertical navigation, which we will in a second. In fact, I can arm it now to show you some additional information. Even though we've got it in active pause, you'll see on the left G1000 we've got some new lettering come up here. This is your vertical navigation path, basically. So it's vertical navigation path. It's in white at the moment because we've not reached the top of descent. We've got VNAV, we've just activated it. When we reach the top of descent, this will go green to say it's locked on to our vertical navigation path. You can see an arrow up here which is similar somewhat to your glide slope, glide path information. You've got a V here for vertical navigation. Once we get nearer to that top of descent, you'll see that arrow come down to around center. Once we get there, it will stick to it. VNAV will kick in, vertical path will kick in, and it will follow that route all the way down. The vertical speed required here, if we started to descend now, this is the vertical speed it will take to get down to this point before we reach this point, this 4,000 feet. That's what it will take now. It's lower than the target because we're further away from the top of descent. So we've got longer to descend. Once we get near to that top of descent, let's just unpause it and watch that. This will be equal pretty much or near enough to this figure. As you can see, it's increasing now because we're getting nearer to that top of descent. We've got 45 seconds. Once we get there, these two figures will be about the same. It'll be the target and required vertical speed to get down to that 4,000 feet will be about the same. You can see that arrow there dropping down to center. Watch what happens. I'll keep you in this view. Let's not turn that CDI knob, Hodison. Keep you in that view. You can see how long we got to our top of descent. You can see these numbers now. They're equalizing. This is dropping down. We've got VNAV armed. Don't forget to arm it. Vertical navigation armed. There you go. Vertical path has now gone green, so we're locked onto our vertical speed path now. You can see the autopilot's descending. The target vertical speed is just over 600 feet per minute. You can see it's going down to that. The autopilot's doing this. This arrow now will stay in the center. It will keep us locked onto our vertical path profile. Hope that makes sense. Let's just watch this. We've just got over 1 minute to the bottom of descent. Bottom of descent. Oh, let's just bring back my throttle there. I've got to watch my mixture when we climb down to 3,000 feet, but that will be later. Bottom of descent will be on your waypoint that we set up here, 4,000 feet. So it'll be basically, the bottom of descent will be when you reach your assigned vertical navigation altitude, which is here. Hope that's not going too fast. So it's not too difficult. Once you've set up what I showed you before, once you get nearer to your top of descent, just arm VNAV. You get those figures come up, and it'll follow. I'm going to keep VNAV armed now to the end of the flight, pretty much till we get to our glide path. So I'm not going to disarm it. There we go. We're just about to reach our bottom of descent. Just over 10 seconds left. It's about to turn us onto our new course. Let's take a look outside. Yep, it's absolutely fine. Bring it. There you go. So it's now reached 4,000 feet. It's going to keep us there. You can see a new figure here, 3,000 feet. That's our next altitude on our vertical path profile. Still got VNAV armed. I'll keep it armed, because once we get nearer to this top of descent, which is currently 14 minutes out, let's range out. So top of descent will be there just before we get to our approach fix. So right here. Once we reach that, you'll get a new vertical speed target and new vertical speed required. Once we get nearer to that approach fix. So there you go. Just going to keep an eye on my speed and my aircraft. Everything looks fine. And I'll bring you back when we get nearer to that top of descent. Okay, so we're just under 2 minutes before our top of descent. And that's going on basically to a Barbie. That would be our first approach fix. And then our final 2,500. So it's all going to happen on this last leg. And basically from here under VNAV, we can arm approach later to bring us down. Hopefully for a good landing. So there you go. Once we get under a minute here, you'll start to see target vertical speed and required vertical speed. Or vertical speed target, vertical speed required. Like I showed you before. We'll just go over that again just to make doubly sure you know what's going on. There you go. So it's give it us. Let's just pause that just to show you. So it's give us those points again. Our target vertical speed would be about 600 feet per minute descent. If we started to descend now before top of descent, we don't need as much vertical speed because we're further out from that waypoint. So that's our required where we are now. And you've got the various markers. You've got the VPath indicator here. This will move down to center. We could just show you that. Once we start to descend to around 3,000 feet, I'll bring my mixture back in. Got it out slightly and leaned at the moment. In fact, we don't need all this now. There you go, so vertical speed indicators moving down, our VPath indicators moving down. Once it gets to center, once this gets to 0, it will follow. This is in white at the moment, it will go green in once it gets closer to it. It's all very clever stuff, and these two numbers are starting to equalize because we're getting nearer to our actual top of descent. Oh, very clever stuff. And you can do this in airliners, sub-airliners, and different aircraft as well. I would highly recommend you practice. There you go, it's gone green now. Practice this course, this route, so you get an idea of what's going on. Going to green now, it's saying it's going to start to descend us. It's going to start to climb down to that target vertical speed. And you can see these two are starting to equalize as well, these numbers, as they should. Because we are descending now. Bring back my throttle. Don't want to overspeed too much. I'm going to bring back my throttle because we're not going to be far from landing at this leg, in fact. After this leg, we're going to be descending to our last approach fix before landing. And then we can arm. Now, very quickly, when we reach this final fix of 2,500, you'll start to see, it doesn't automatically say G here, but you'll start to see the glide slope indicator. Looks very different. There you go, it's going to start to descend now. Sorry, let me continue what I was saying there. It's going to look very different to this arrow as you got on the vertical path indicator. The glide slope indicator is obviously a solid diamond, green diamond, might be purple, but you'll see it come up here, and that's going to happen quickly with this route. Because this final approach fix is right on the edge of the glide slope or glide path, as you'll see when we get there. So I'm just, there you go, it's turning onto our final approach fix. It'd be a good idea if we'd take a look outside our window, wouldn't it? Yep, everything's fine. Heathrow's ahead of us here. There you go, the runway's there, that's the runway we want to land on. Top of descent, new top of descent coming up, let's keep you there. New information to get down to that bottom of descent for our 2,500 feet. I'll keep the aircraft slow because I will want to get to flap speed before you know it. In fact, I'm going to go to flaps 1 now. Why not? It's going to start to descend again before you know it. Just watch my speed. There you go, vertical paths kicks it in again. Should be absolutely fine. Stage 1 flaps. We're about flaps, stage 1 flap speed. It's climbing down to that 2,500. Watch this now. This glide slope indicator will suddenly appear. When if it goes below center, you're going to have to chase it. So if it goes below you, you're going to have to chase it. So I'm going to catch it. I'm going to hover over my approach mode. Depending what course you're flying on. With this course, if you practice it, it will suddenly appear and it will be pretty much center. So press your approach button when you see it. Climbing down to 2,500, let's just decrease my throttle. Poor aircraft screaming on the flaps there. So watch for the glide slope indicator coming up. It's climbing down now to our 2,500 feet. Gonna have to watch my speed as well as it does that. There you go, glide slope indicator, it's come up there. I'm gonna arm approach. And you can see GP has locked on, so it's locked on to our glide path. It's going to bring us down to the runway and line us up with the runway as well. So we can watch that. So now the vertical navigation part has ended. You can see that's disappeared. We're on the glide path. I armed approach because I saw my glide slope indicator come up. And it's flying us down basically to the runway. Let's put another stage of flaps in. And whilst we're coming down under autopilot, it's a perfect excuse to use the Tolby again. I'll just keep an eye on my speeds there. There you go, bring that throttle down while it's descending, but not too much because it will start leveling out as well and you'll start to stall the aircraft. Just keep aware of it. This part has ended. We could take that off now. We're on the glide path navigation. There we go. And we could just keep an eye on our speed there. Oh, take a look over us. Runways ahead. Hello, I'm waving at the people just ahead of us there. Any familiar names? Not sure what server. I've got it in North Europe server, so there might be 1 or 2 coming up. See, we're slowing down. I did say keep an eye on your speed. I brought my throttle down. On the glide path navigation, it does like to slow you down and level you out as well, so just watch your speed. I've just caught it. Don't want to get into stall speed. We are doing absolutely fine. Just take a look at my instruments. Using my eyes with the Tolby eye tracker. It's moving my head slightly when I do that. That's a wonderful experience, I tell you. Again, fully recommend that Tolby if you haven't got it. If you're on PC, Flight Sim. And don't worry, they are one of the companies that I'm sure Asobo will be keeping an eye out with the new sim as well. So it's likely to be working with the new sim, I would suggest, if not straight away, not long after. And you'll still be able to fly in Flight Sim 2020. This video's not about that. I've got a whole separate video about the new sim. Go and check my recent uploads, my thoughts on it. There we go. Just watch my speed again. It's starting to descend to follow the glide path. You can see glide path because it's GP in this case. If it's GS, it's glide slope. Pretty much the same thing. Don't worry about the terminology of them. Just decrease my speed as the autopilot starts to nose down to follow the glide path. Just trying to get it to a good setting on my actual physical throttle where I don't need to keep adjusting it, which is hopefully around about there. We'll find out. Coming in, I will take it off autopilot once we get a bit nearer. Wonderful day, live weather again. Burning hot day. I'm on the south coast just below London. Or an hour away from London. And it's burning hot. Just went shopping before and I stopped to sit on a beach, as you do if you live down here, just to get a bit of the old vitamin D. Oh yeah, I was in London last year and like, what was it, 44, 43, 44 was the two hottest days we had there. And trust me, yeah, that may be okay in other parts of the world. I was in Budapest and that was fine. In London, you do not want to be in London in that heat, but we were handing out water to the homeless in those days. In fact, they were sweltering. Alright, coming down. And what I like to do, just when I'm getting used to the Tubby I track, I tend to turn it off under approach. So when I'm coming down for an approach, just so I can keep a level eye on my instruments and where I need to be for landing. There we go, I'm going to start to level us off again under autopilot, still under autopilot. But we've followed the whole vertical speed approach path using vertical speed, and we've armed approach at the end for an autopilot approach into landing. Take a look ahead of me there, looks fantastic. Let's see, inner builds, inner scene, Heathrow Airport. It's all coming out nicely and performing. Famous last words. Very nicely at the moment, very smoothly. We got it. Still under autopilot, it's just fully lining us up and keeping us on that glide path. And we're going to come over the runway in a second, so I shall disarm autopilot and just glide it down to the runway. Autopilot off. Start to decrease my throttle just to glide. Obviously at this point I'm not too concerned with the PAPI lights because the runway is beneath me. I just want to land on it. There we go. Nice and smoothly. Have I touched down? I have now. Right. There we go, just come off to the left, raise my flaps as we go. Sort of deceiving sometimes. Oh, did I say a bit of lag? My goodness, that's because an airliner was just about to shoot through me. Everything was going so well, apart from that little lag there. Never mind. Well, listen, chaps, so that's my VNAV tutorial in the Back to Basics series. Do follow this tutorial first. I've done a couple of different routes and they behave slightly differently. Follow this route first. Make sure your airport has some kind of RNAV and VNAV into an ILS. So go for the major airports first would be my recommendation. And then you can practice elsewhere. Do let me know your thoughts on the video. Give it a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe for many more flight simulator videos on their way. And I'll see you soon.